This episode of Simple Civics, Greenville County is made possible by Beth and Mike Andrews, Kelly Byers and Tom Wagner, Elizabeth and Grant Bogus. We thank them for their support and for connecting you, our listeners, with candidates so you'll be informed voters this primary season. You can give to Simple Civics too. Just visit our website at simplecivicsgreenvillecounty.org. On Tuesday, June 9th, South Carolina holds its statewide primary elections. I'm Katie Smith with Greater Good Greenville, and over the next several weeks, we are pleased to bring you interviews with most of the candidates in contested races that are in Greenville County. Today, we feature candidates for the Democratic primary for South Carolina House of Representatives, District 25, an area that includes Pleasant Valley, Tanglewood, Belmead, and Donaldson. Whichever candidate wins the Democratic primary in June will essentially be the new representative, as they have no opposition from another party's candidate in November. But first, a quick primer on why primaries are so important. The statewide primaries are when political parties choose their candidates to be on the ballot in the general election on November 3rd. This primary on June 9th will be for important offices like State House of Representatives, Governor, State Superintendent of Education, Congress, and one of our U.S. Senate seats, and our Greenville County Council. Some of these primary races will determine the winner in November because no one from a different party has filed to run, meaning that practically speaking, the June 9th primary is the election. In South Carolina, we don't register to vote by party, and all primaries are open, meaning you're free to vote in either the Republican or Democratic primary ballot. Of course, there are other parties, but they don't have a primary in our state. We did an episode that explains how all this works, and we'll link it in the show notes for you. If you want to see which district you live in and who will be on your ballot, you can check out the links on the episode page for a sample ballot from the South Carolina Election Commission. All of the details on how these interviews worked are at the end of the episode and in the show notes. But in short, know that each candidate had the same 3 questions and 10 timed minutes to respond. To find links to each candidate's campaign information, please check the show notes. For this episode, we are joined by Democratic primary candidates Wendell Jones and Derrick Quarles. First up alphabetically is Wendell Jones. I'm pleased to be here with Wendell Jones, who is running for re-election in House District 25. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Katie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, tell us about yourself and why you're running for re-election.
Well, as you know, we're closing out my second term, and I think I've learned quite a bit. It was amazing, Katie. Everybody thinks they know what they're getting into until you get into it. And I've had the pleasure of being beside several colleagues who've held my hands, and now I feel like I know the ropes a little bit better. We've been able to move some bills through committee, been able to establish some relationships, and so I really want to leverage those as we're bringing more attention to District 25 and districts like ours. And so I'm excited about winning this upcoming race so we can go down and finish the work that we started.
Thank you. What do you believe are the biggest issues facing your constituents?
Although it seems to be becoming rather cliche these days, Katie, but it's still affordability. Unfortunately, it's becoming cliche because it truly is an issue. And affordability is a broad umbrella, and there's several things that fall underneath that. But I think the one that's the loudest right now continues to be housing. In this great state of ours, we're growing so rapidly, so we have supply and demand pressures that are pushing pricing up. I think the last time I looked at some data, the average house in Greenville was in and around $318,000 a year. Starter home starting at $240,000, rent $1,500 for one bedroom, and so we are exceeding the wage growth of our folks, and so we have a housing crisis. And so if we look at the bills that I proposed over the last 2 years, many of them are addressing housing issues, trying to come up with some creative ways that we can approach it and try to relieve some pressure and come up with some creative solutions to allow the government to do its part, as well as work and partner with the private sector rather. And I think we're going to be able to do some of that. And so those are some of the things I'm so excited to go back and champion in 27.
Thank you. What would be your priorities if reelected?
We're going to continue to push that 3-legged stool that I tried to sit on, and that is housing, jobs, and education. Ultimately, what those will do for my constituents and really anybody in the state is that I'm trying to raise the average household income. If we can do that, it will solve so many of our problems. So many of our communities are underinvested, and that's because people are looking at the data, they're looking at the demographics, and so when it comes to resources, they're leaping over those communities. And so we want to help folks take full advantage of this growth. I want to partner with our Chamber of Commerce to continue to recruit great companies. I want to continue to work with our technical schools who are doing a fantastic job of getting our students and our adult re-educating our adults to get prepared for the shifts in the industry in the state. South Carolina, I'm 55, and I've watched South Carolina go through this transformation from textiles to advanced manufacturing. And here in the district, we have aviation and quite a few high-paying jobs. We just got to get our people trained to have those. And so that is something that I'm really interested in. I want to make sure we continue to pass policy that supports that, policies that continue to make education affordable, but also join the team when we're trying to get good companies in here. And so those are the things that I'm focusing on, again, ultimately, to bring up the average household income.
Thank you. We have a little bit more time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners?
Well, I'm very optimistic going into next year. I think I'm watching changes in the State House, so people are being much more open to having these conversations, these needful conversations, because it's becoming difficult to deny that we do have a housing crisis, that we do have some educational issues that we need to address. And so the things that I've been thumping my chest about, others are starting to join in that chorus. And so I think we're going to do some things, and hopefully we'll begin to move away from some of the those different social issues that go viral and get back to the kitchen table issues that are impacting so many of the folks who grew up here. We have a great state. Folks are coming in. They're doing well. They're taking full advantage of our state being affordable to them because they were coming from states that were far more expensive than South Carolina. But for the folks who grew up here, Katie, they're having a difficult time. And so if we're not careful, we're going to continue to allow this chasm to grow between the haves and the have-nots. And our economy is not sustainable on that trajectory. And so I want to continue to be the drum major of that story and say, guys, let's do our part to make South Carolina a great place for folks to be born in, to grow up in, to retire in, all the cycles of life. And so I think I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to address some of those issues.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your willingness to continue to serve.
Thank you for having me.
Next up is Derrick Quarles. I'm pleased to be joined by Derrick Quarles, who's the candidate for Democratic primary in House District 25. Thanks so much for being here, Derrick.
Very glad to be here.
Tell us about yourself and why you're running for this office.
So I'm Derrick Quarles. Spent my adult life, doing a lot of community work, advocating for our community, not just in District 25, but all over the state and really all over the country. And I tell people every time I leave home and I come back, I'm always like dreadful because I see like what's possible in all these other communities that are very similar to my community. And I'm here running because I see what's possible. I know what's possible. I've seen it happen so many times in so many communities that are just like mine, and I want to be the person to help lead us into what is possible.
Thank you. What do you believe are the biggest issues facing constituents?
I think some of the biggest issues, and this is just me talking to people, and I've been in the community, I've run for office before, and I didn't stop being in the community, and I've talked to people, and I've helped people with so many different issues. And there are a lot of seniors in our community who have housing issues. They have housing that they own, but their houses are 30, 40 years old and are in desperate need of repair. And so I've worked with several groups like Rebuild Upstate to help these individuals have their homes fixed to their standard. If you're 90 years old, you can't just hop over in a tub like you would if you were 30. And so helping having walk-in showers installed. And so that's one of the issues is helping our seniors. Another issue is crime in our community. Crime is every single where in every community. But we know crime just so happens to be a little higher, a little elevated in District 25. And I think the root cause of that is folks don't have access to jobs. Folks don't have access to all of the other basic necessities that other communities have. And so the infrastructure is also another huge issue. I see people walking all the time trying to commute from their home to the corner store and there's no sidewalks, and so they're walking in the street and they risk being hit by 18-wheelers or vehicles, and we see it quite often in 25, and so that's another huge issue. And I think one of the other things is we have more Title I schools in District 25 than any other district in Greenville County. And that to me is a huge, huge concern of mine. Being an educator, have worked in the classrooms, have worked at the higher education level, and knowing what education means and can mean for so many of our children. So those are my priorities and those that I'm focused on.
Thank you. What would be your priorities if elected?
Uh, what I just mentioned. So making sure again that our teachers have what they need, especially in Title I schools. I think when people hear Title I, they assume that the students are the worst of the worst, and these are some of the most smartest, brightest kids. They just don't have the same resources, and so making sure they have the funding, making sure the teachers have the supplies they need in the classrooms to make sure that they can teach their students, making sure that the kids who have behavioral issues have, a therapist at that school that can address those concerns in that moment so that they don't escalate and so they don't become juvenile justice issues. I've gone through the juvenile justice system myself as a juvenile many, 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 many times. And so I'm now working with DJJ to help mentor some of those kids because they just need somebody to say, I care about you and I'm here for you. Another thing I'll be prioritizing is making sure that potholes at least are filled. I know that they say that fixing a road costs hundreds of thousands of dollars and even millions of dollars. So let's fix the potholes. Let's find some type of remedy to address some of these issues so that people are not continuing to drive out over these potholes and continue to bust their tires. I passed this morning somebody who hit a pothole and they bust their tire, and it's somebody I knew too, a preacher I knew. And I pulled over to make sure that they were okay, and he was a little upset about his tire and his truck, but that's just one of the many concerns that people have in this district. And the other thing is working with our first responders to make sure that they also have the resources they need. I met with a fire chief here recently who talked about them being in need of new equipment, new communication equipment to communicate with other fire departments, other law enforcement agencies, so they can all respond adequately and efficiently to calls for service. And so that's just one of the other things I'll be prioritizing.
Thank you. We have a little bit more time left. Is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners?
Yeah, I just want folks to know, that I'm very passionate about my community, and I've been very passionate since I can remember. And the passion comes from me going through the juvenile justice system, and then even as an adult going through the criminal justice system and being accused of a crime that I did not commit, that ultimately was dismissed after 4 long years of me fighting this charge. And so I know uh, a lot of people. I'm not the only person who has been met with such challenges by the justice system. And it's not that I'm anti-police. I'm not anti-justice. I am anti the BS, and I just want everybody to know that I care about everybody, all the issues. I also want to say this is that there's a huge population of Latinos in Greenville, and they continue to come every single day. And in District 25, we have a huge population of Hispanic Latino folks. And my campaign this time around is we are intentionally focused on making sure that the Latino community has the support and services they need. And so you'll see us doing a lot of joint events with the Latino community. We have several events planned. We have a workshop on first time home ownership. We're doing one with the Black and Latino community, and this is not to exclude anybody, but we're hyper focused on folks who have oftentimes been left out of homeownership opportunities, of educational opportunities, of employment opportunities, and so that's also something I'm focused on. And then also just working with whether I'm elected or not, continue to work with our legislators to address the shortage of jobs in our district. We know that Isuzu is fairly new to the district, and if I was already elected, one of the things I would have done, and I've talked to the chamber about this, is I would have met with Isuzu and said, "Hey, look, we have people in this community who are in desperate need of jobs, who, if trained accurately and properly, they can do the job. We just need an opportunity. So can you give, not on a DEI basis, but because these people need it and because they deserve it, right? And but give 10 people an opportunity to be trained and see how this works out. And if it goes great, good. If not, then we'll try something else. And so that's something else that I'd be prioritizing is make sure that we have access to jobs, especially when they're right here in the district and it's convenient for folks to get there who are walkers or bike riders.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you so much for your willingness to serve.
Glad to do it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the candidates. Here is more detail on our process. All candidates received the same 3 questions at the time of their invitation to join us shortly after the filing period closed, and they were given 10 timed minutes for their interview. Candidates were allowed to bring along a companion, such as a campaign manager, family member, or friend, and to record our session themselves. There were no edits made to the interviews. We've put links to the participating candidates' preferred internet presence on the episode page.
Hi, Simple Civics Greenville County listeners, Nathaniel here. If you've made it this far, then we think you'll really love our newsletter. Sign up for bonus content, updates, and more right in your inbox. Look for the link in the description that says newsletter to sign up, or visit us at simplecivicsgreenvillecounty.org. Find the link in the menu that says newsletter and sign up there. We'll see you again next week.